Oski, here we go, week two. For those of you just joining, let me give you a quick recap. This group's designed to mobilize men. We're in this group to become better men, the men God want us to be, and how different our lives would be. I just can't get around how different would the lives around us be if we became more and more who God intended us to be, the godly men that God had designed. And so we're targeting three areas in this group time we got: growing in our faith, growing in our family, and growing and advancing God's kingdom. And last week I shared a number of different stories. One of them was the reintroduction of wolves into Yellowstone. I still just marvel at the cascading effect of that one decision, and just I'm looking at like, man, what if men were reintroduced into society? How many different aspects of society would feel the ripple of that? Talked about the Indian chief who had the response to the college, like, well, what if you sent 12 of your boys to us? We would make men of them. Hilarious that went down. Talked about President Garfield, the only ordained pastor, and how he had just this idea of like, what if I set out to be a man? And I think I would succeed in everything I do. And then as a group, we had a little bit of a conversation time built around the idea of eulogy virtues. Like, what would you want said about you at your funeral? And then you got a homework. Homework was, do you know why you want to become a better man? And the reason why I had you grasp the question, why do you want to become a better man, is because if you don't know your why, you lose your way. And I'm very clear on this. I know why I don't look at pornography. I know why I want to, but I have taken the time to know my why and why I don't want to. It would impact me spiritually. It would impact me and Jenny's relationship. It would impact me and my children. It would impact me and the leadership capacity I have. I mean, just on and on and on. And when my why became super clear of why I don't want to, even though there is still exists perhaps a why I would want to, it falls short. I still need to pray. I still need to have accountability. But I'm just telling you, knowing why you want to become a better man, it will give you a greater propensity to actually arrive there. If you don't know your why, I can promise you, you're going to fall short. So, just a little reminder: every week you're going to get asked three questions. Did you do your homework? Um, and then we're going to ask you, is there anything you want to confess? And I'm content if you want to just kind of like play it safe, kind of just go through the motions, but that won't actually lead to the goal of the group, which is to help you become a better man. And I'm just saying that as things continue to be secrets here, they create a sickness inside of you, and confession actually allows you to walk towards healing and freedom. So every week you're going to be asked, is there anything you need to confess? And again, you can be like no, or like hide it. I'm just telling you, then you've put a ceiling on where God could actually bring you. Last question is, where are you going to get encouraged? How do you, what could we say? What could this group do? What could we pray that would actually encourage you? Because all week long, I believe men are being discouraged, devalued, and they're heaped on with all kinds of burdens. And what would it look like to have people come around you and encourage you? So let's start with some new content. When you hear the phrase "tough guy," who comes to mind? What comes to mind? For me, I go straight Braveheart. Come on, William Wallace. Let's go. Look, oh, Fred, right? I think about some football players. Just just linebackers. Like back in the day, guys, Lawrence Taylor, and it was interesting. I was with a friend who originally grew up in Miami. We were talking about Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, if you don't know football, he's a quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. He's suffered a significant number of concussions, and we actually had this conversation like, will he play? Is the NFL telling Miami don't let him play? Is his contract still valid? Like, we're gonna. And my friend was like, "Do you know which NFL quarterback has had the most concussions?" And I was like, And I threw out a couple of names, and he goes, "Google it. Tell me how many you think. Just right now, right now. How many concussions do you think the quarterback who has had the most concussions has had? Got a number?" I asked guys, they were like 16, 20. The answer is Brett Favre, 1,000. Go ahead, Google it. Now, to be fair, Brett Favre estimated that he has had 1,000 concussions, and it's crazy. But William Wallace, Maximus from Gladiator, name your NFL football player. None of these guys ever carried a cross to Golgotha. And I get this, and allowed themselves to be hammered by 7-inch nails. Like, there's something about this cross reality. And like Luke 9:23 says, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me. And this idea of take up your cross, it's like so symbolic, so easy to move it to like it's a figurative idea. But just doing some reading, it's estimated that a Roman cross weighed about 300 pounds. And I need you to kind of, like, even if Jesus only carried the cross beam, like not the whole cross, but just the cross beam, there's a weight to that. And it was placed on raw flesh that had just been flogged. Just the pure brutality of what he did. I'm trying to convey to you that Jesus was super tough. I don't know if you've seen the movie Facing the Giants. There's a scene in it. This will be homework option B. I have homework option A, but if you're looking for more homework and you haven't seen Facing the Giants, go watch that. There's a scene where you had a player who would kind of be like kind of on fours basically, and a player would lay on his back. And it's just this like, it is a motivating, passionate scene where he's blindfolded and he like crawls all the way. He crawls 100 yards and you're just like, it's just this scene. The Via Dolorosa, which is the traditional path that Jesus would have walked, is estimated to be 650 yards. I'm just imagining what Jesus did. Being a tough guy doesn't mean sticking up for yourself when you get offended. I see a true tough guy sacrifices himself for the sake of those he loves. And Jesus didn't just carry a cross, he carried the weight of the world. Every offense ever committed was placed on his shoulders in Calvary. And I would just say, like, tough love is loving others when they least expect it. Today, love is thrown out like it's this like puppy love, right? Like it's The Bachelorette, which, oh my gosh, my wife and I were just like, it's bad enough. I get why young people want to be seen on a TV show and find romance. But oh my, the people, look at that. I don't know how I'm doing that. We're going to keep on going. That was amazing. I hope this records right. But like, that is not the love we're talking about. True love is long suffering according to Scripture. It always protects. It always trusts. It always hopes. It always perseveres. Tough love is sacrificial love. A love that's willing to be nailed to the cross for someone else's sin. It's unconditional. And tough love, it's a covenantal love. And that's the wording that the Bible actually attaches to marriage. 1 Peter 3, verses 7 through 9 says, likewise, husbands, live with your wives in an understanding way, showing honor to the woman as the weaker vessel. We'll just kind of like, we'll pick that up another time. But since they are heirs with you of the grace of life, so that your prayers may not be hindered. Basically it's saying, hey, men, husbands, understand your spouse, and when you understand them and extend grace to them and love them in a sacrificial way, the odds of your prayers being answered go up. Wild. The phrase that really stuck for me, though, was live with your wives in an understanding way. I've been doing this a long time. My observation is most men don't know what that means. Yes, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and all, like, most men, though, don't do the work to understand. I think where most men land is like the BK commercial. BK, have it your way. You rule. And you rule in such a way where you don't understand. And I would just say that's why most men suck at relationships. Tonight, I want today, I don't know when you're watching this, I'll give you 4 thoughts on how to add lift to your marriage, to help you get understanding, to unlock for you. Now, some of you, you're not married. And here's what I would say. I had a guy in my group who wasn't married, and I said, this is what I want you to do. I want you to apply as much of this as possible with your relationship to your mom, whether you live at home or not. If I was talking to a female, I'd say, I want you to apply as much of this as you can to your relationship with your dad, whether you're, living there or not. Because here's why. Loving your parent at times is inconvenient, is frustrating, is annoying, and goes against what you want. And I'm just going to clue you in. If you're not married, there will be times where it's going to be frustrating, annoying, go against what you want. And so this is just going to be training for you. All right. And so Jenny and I, the first person to actually give us some counseling, it came through a book written by Willard Harley. He actually wrote 2 books. One was called Love Busters. Super brilliant. The one I'm referring to, though, is His Needs, Her Needs. And it was in this book that he kind of said, hey, men typically have a top 5 list, and women typically have a top 5 list, and they miss men. And this is especially true of, I would say, your 20 to 30-year-old men. The list goes sexual fulfillment, recreational companionship, an attractive spouse, domestic support, and admiration. What's interesting is the women don't have any of those in their top 5. This, I know it sounds crazy, but this is their list: affection, conversation, honesty and openness, financial support, and family commitment. So most men have a list, and they're frustrated when the spouse doesn't adhere to this list. And I would say most men also don't pursue, how do I hit this list? And so I want to offer you some ideas how you can gain understanding about your spouse that would, if you do these things, if you get better at these 4 things, it will bring lift to your marriage. And here's how I did it. I built off an acronym of LIFT. They are love, intimacy, finances, and thankfulness. All right? And so I started by sharing what a tough guy is. And I just think a tough guy lays himself down for his spouse. Ephesians actually says, for husbands, this means love your wives just as Christ loved the church, who died for the church. In the same way, husbands ought to love their wives as they love their own bodies. For a man who loves his wife actually shows love for himself. One of the best things you can do to increase how you are a better man is to lay down your life and love your wife. So how are we going to do that? Number 1, love. And I'm not talking puppy love, right? It's a lay down your life. It's being patient. It's being kind. It's being attentive. Would you love your wife in such a way where it looks sacrificial, where you put her needs ahead of your needs, where you're mindful of what she needs and you do it, even if it costs you energy and time? All right? I'm going to spend a lot of time on that, but I'm going to move on to intimacy. And intimacy is not sex. There's intimacy in sex, but for a woman, it's way more than this, right? Men want to microwave things, just go, quick. She's a crock pot. And when I'm talking intimacy, I'm talking about more of your conversation. Can you encourage her without turning everything into a sexual comment? It's crazy. Jenny will be like, what's for dinner? I'm like, oh, I'll tell you what's for dinner, right? She's just like, oh my goodness, come on. She's like, I'm going to go outside, and I'm like, oh, I'll do it. Yeah, and everything. And I'm just saying, can you woo her without it ever being a play to get some? This is you being open and honest with your feelings. Can you ask questions? Can you ask a question, listen to the answer, and repeat back what you heard? That is a game changer in intimacy. Years ago, I heard someone talk about this idea of layers of intimacy as it relates to conversations. And I don't think I'm remembering it all together accurately, but how I remember it and how it was, I think my version's even better. All right. So first layer, lowest level of intimacy, facts. Second layer, opinions. Third layer, feelings. Fourth layer, longings, dreams, fears. Okay, let me break this down. Most men only have conversation at level 1. Every once in a while, you might get level 2. Rarely do you get level 3, and level 4 is a no-go. All right, so facts. It is hot outside. I'll be home at 4. The kids are at the park. Like, these are facts. This is how we live life. I'm watching the football game. The score is 13-7, right? Opinions. Opinions are like, I hate the Hawkeyes, right? Like, it's an opinion. This food doesn't taste good. It's an opinion. Opinion is different than feeling. Like, a feeling is, I'm encouraged when you say this. I am nervous about how things are going with one of our children. I'm excited about the upcoming trip. That's not an opinion. That's a feeling. I'm feeling that, right? So fact is just what it is. Opinion is my thought on it. Feeling is the actual inside emotion. Notice most of you, you never leave tier 1. Barely do you get to level 2. But intimacy is born in level 3 and level 4. Sharing your dreams and your fears, your spiritual matters. And if you learn how to get the deeper levels, it will give your marriage lift. Third thing is finances. Over and over again, I've learned that my handling of the finances, or lack thereof, can create harmony or stress in our marriage. And every home is different, but I'm telling you, if you can get this figured out, it moves the dial. It moves the dial. Money is number 2 reason why there is just sabotage in marriage. And I would say if you want to have lift, you've got to become good at this. Making income, lowering expenses, creating margin, those kind of things. Number 4, thankfulness. The idea that you're probably grateful for things they do, but never use your words, over time erodes your relationship and creates like what I would call like just gravity on your marriage. And I would say thankfulness, an attitude of gratitude. What gets rewarded gets repeated. If she does some domestic stuff, tell her thank you. If she does some stuff for the family, tell her thank you. If she says something that encouraged you, tell her it meant something. If she supports you in any way, can you tell her thank you? So let me wrap it all up. There's love, intimacy, finances, and thankfulness. Here's your homework. Give yourself a letter grade for each of the 4. How are you doing? This is your homework. How are you doing? And then whatever one of those you get a low grade, your lowest grade, I want you to come up with what's one thing you can do to make that move up. Help it, like what's one thing you can do to make that better. So, hey, I love you. Blessings. I hope you have a great conversation.